Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're taking a bit of a shortcut to getting you well informed about the upcoming NBA season. We've dug into a stack of fresh sources, and we're going to untangle some pretty fascinating questions for you, the casual NBA fan. We're talking potential playoff dark horses, what success really means for certain teams, and what it actually takes to win it all. Get ready for some surprising facts, maybe some aha moments that could change how you see your favorite team.
Yeah, it's a perfect time for this, with the season getting closer. We're looking at some bold predictions, definitely some crucial player dynamics, and maybe digging into those underlying things that, really define a team's path, not just the win-loss column. We'll try to connect some dots, maybe challenge a few assumptions you might have.
Okay, let's unpack this. First big question. Which non-playoff team from last year is going to break through this season? Our sources are pointing to a few teams, but one name keeps popping up. The Atlanta Hawks. They're seen as, a real front-runner, maybe even a lock. Vegas odds seem to agree they're heavily favored. Why all the confidence?
Well, what's really interesting here, and maybe a bit counterintuitive, is how they've built the roster.
Yeah.
They seem to be shifting, surprisingly, towards a defense-first identity, which, for a team led by Trae Young, is quite a pivot, right?
Definitely.
They've surrounded him with these two-way players, guys with length, like Dyson Daniels, Reece Shea. The sources are saying this is maybe their best roster since that 2021 conference finals run.
Yep.
Key additions of Chris Porziņģis, obviously. Even if he's, a health risk and only plays maybe 50, 60 games, he gives them that floor spacing and rim protection they need.
Okay.
And Nickeil Alexander-Walker adds some nice two-way depth. Plus, a huge factor mentioned is Jalen Johnson coming back and his potential.
Yeah.
His on-off splits last year were apparently night and day. He can be that secondary playmaker.
So it's not just adding names, it's how they change the team's whole approach, especially on D. That feels significant for Atlanta. And the sources also mentioned they won 40 games last year already, right? And maybe some East teams, Celtics, Pacers without Halliburton. Even the Heat might take a small step back. Creates an opening. Okay, but beyond Atlanta, who else is on the radar? What about, say, the Mavs, the Sixers, the Spurs?
Yeah, the West is always tough. For Dallas, it really seems to hinge on health, almost entirely, especially Anthony Davis, AD. The expectation, or maybe the hope, is their defense needs to be top 5, led by Lively, AD, and the rookie, Cooper Flagg.
Ah, yes, Cooper Flagg. Big hype around him.
Huge hype. Sources suggest his floor is an all-star. Apparently already impressed playing against guys like Drew Holiday, AD at just 17. Even has a higher 2K rating than Paul George, which, fans notice that stuff.
I know they do.
But the challenge is just that brutal Western Conference, and they need shooting. Sources even speculated about Klay Thompson if a trade somehow happened.
Sounds like a high-wire act for Dallas. Health, rookie impact, tough conference. Okay, what about Philly? The Sixers, their story always seems tied to injuries.
Absolutely. It's kind of the same story, isn't it? Success depends heavily on Embiid and Paul George staying on the court together. They only played, 18 games last year?
Wow, that few.
Yeah, and Tyrese Maxey needs to take another giant leap. Plus the rookie, VJ Edgecombe, the number 3 pick, he needs to play like it. Some local experts are super high on them, talking championship contender.
Really?
Yeah, but others are skeptical, given Embiid's history. Still, the East seems open enough that a play-in spot feels achievable, especially if Maxey gets help from guys like Jared McCain or Quinn Grimes.
Okay, and the Spurs. They've missed the playoffs 6 years running now. Is this the year Wemby and Fox change that?
Well, the sources definitely tie their hopes to Wembanyama's health and development. He only played 46 games last year. And De'Aaron Fox, too, who barely played with Wemby, only 5 games. They've got a potentially strong starting 5, added Dylan Harper. The big question is just, can that young core develop fast enough to actually compete for a spot in the West this year, or is it still about potential?
Right, potential versus immediate results. Okay, let's pivot from teams trying to make the playoffs to teams fighting at the top. The Eastern Conference. Our sources really focused on this brewing rivalry. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks. Who's got the edge? The Knicks made the conference finals last year, big step for them. And they made a major coaching change, moving on from Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, and Thibs, he was successful, definitely built a tough identity, but maybe seen as a bit rigid, especially come playoff time. So they bring in Mike Brown, who's viewed as more adaptable, more versatile, especially with lineups and adjustments. That seems like a move aimed squarely at postseason success, not just piling up regular season wins.
Interesting distinction.
Right. And they added pieces too, like Jordan Clarkson, Gershon Yabusele for depth, shooting, some shot creation. But the sources also caution, their ceiling is a title, sure, but their floor could be a first-round exit. They had really good health luck last season. Can that hold? It's all about finding that tactical edge in a playoff series.
Makes sense. A coaching change more about playoff chess matches. What about the Cavs? The sources had a maybe slightly different take on their core group.
Yeah, we often talk about that big four, Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, and Jared Allen. But the sources kind of suggested Allen is maybe more of a high-end role player than a true core piece for a deep championship run, especially in the playoffs. Evan Mobley, though, different story. Identified as a future multi-time All-NBA guy, potential DPOY, maybe even an MVP candidate down the line. He's apparently getting more ball-handling duties, too. And the sources flat out said the Cavs are better with Mobley playing center. That hints at a possible shift.
So that raises questions about Allen's fit long-term.
Exactly. How do you manage that? He's a very good player, but maybe not that 16-game player you need for a title run. It's a strategic challenge, financially, too. And the biggest fear for Cleveland, again, it's health. Garland and Mitchell have both had injury issues that derailed them before.
So despite the Big Four label, Mobley's really the key to their ceiling, and Allen may be more situational. It sounds like the East maybe isn't as wide open as some folks think. Could it really boil down to the Knicks and Cavs?
Seems that way, according to these sources. Cavs may be favorites for the regular season grind, but the postseason could be a real toss-up between those two.
Anyone else even mentioned as, interesting in that next tier down?
The Orlando Magic got called most interesting. Lots of young talent, obviously. But the feeling was they still lack that primary creator, that straw that stirs the drink to really make noise deep in the playoffs. On the right track, but maybe not there yet.
Gotcha. Okay, let's head west. The Clippers. Championship dreams year after year, it feels like. Our sources got really specific about what it would actually take for them to finally lift the trophy. What's the number one thing?
Look, the sources were blunt. It's luck, especially injury luck. It's paramount. The Clippers just have historically awful luck keeping their stars healthy. Every champ gets some luck, sure. But for the Clippers, it feels like step one is just getting everyone available.
Right.
Beyond that, it's total buy-in. Every single player, stars down to the end of the bench, has to fully commit and max out their specific role. With guys like Kawhi, Harden, Beal all needing the ball, that collective sacrifice, that's a huge ask. Tie loose coaching, managing those egos, deploying talent, it's absolutely critical.
Yeah, fitting all those stars together and getting them to sacrifice, that's the puzzle. The sources also got specific on what they need from the big names. What's a Kawhi Leonard in God mode look like?
God mode. Kawhi, according to this, means playing at least 55 regular season games just for rhythm and chemistry, and then averaging 27 to 30 points in the playoffs. That's up from 25 last year. More volume, more aggression, taking 20, 21 shots, 6 to 7 free throws a game. They compared it to his 2019 Raptors run.
Wow, okay.
And James Harden and Bradley Beal. They need excellence, not just good. Harden has to be better, less ball dominant maybe, more energy for the playoffs, and actually show up in elimination games. Beal needs to be star caliber 18-20 points efficiently, solid defense, and frankly prove he's a winning player. Hasn't won a playoff series since 2017.
Oh.
And finally, they need a top 3 seed. History says it's almost impossible to win from lower than that unless you're the defending champs. It really makes you think, how do you balance that team sacrifice with needing these individuals to play at such a peak level, especially guys still trying to prove something? It's complex.
A very tricky balance indeed. Okay, let's shift focus a bit to the future stars. Young players entering contract years. Sources highlighted a few guys with a lot to prove this season to get that big payday. Who's really on the hot seat?
Well, Jaden Ivey in Detroit is a big one. He's coming off that lost season, the broken fibula. So there's caution around his extension. He's not seen as a, seamless fit next to Cade, but he offers scoring punch. He really needs to show growth. Coming back from injury, it's kind of a perfect storm for him to prove his value.
Makes sense.
Benedict Mathurin in Indiana, too. Lots to prove, especially now with Halliburton out injured recently. Rick Carlisle already said Mathurin's starting. Huge chance for him. Can he be a 30-point scorer? We'll see. Shaedon Sharpe in Portland, if he takes a big offensive leap, maybe the Blazers become a fringe playoff team. And Jonathan Kuminga with the Warriors, he was mentioned as having maybe the most to prove. High contract demands, but trouble staying in the rotation consistently. It really shows how this new CBA, the new contract rules, it puts pressure on teams. They might try to squeeze these young restricted free agents more.
Right.
So it's a dilemma, right? Do you lock up potential early, maybe pay a bit more, or risk them playing it out and demanding even more later? Ivy and Kuminga are perfect examples of that tension.
Yeah, high-stakes poker with millions on the line. Okay, now let's turn to the Phoenix Suns. They're in a really interesting spot, a major transition. And success for them, according to our sources, looks very different from just wins and losses this year.
Yeah, this was fascinating. It forces you to question assumptions, Casual fans just see wins. But for their coach, Jordan Ott, success this season is all about a culture reset. It's not about winning Coach of the Year or anything like that. It's about fixing the team culture. Sources indicated previous coaches struggled to connect, couldn't maximize talent because of those underlying cultural problems. So Ott needs to be a servant leader, a good salesman, get total buy-in, especially from Devin Booker and Jalen Green. And if they establish that culture, get that buy-in. The sources said something like 32, 33 wins would actually be seen as a very successful season, a step in the right direction. The focus is building something sustainable, not chasing wins right now.
Wow, 33 wins is a success. That's a hard sell for fans used to seeing stars, expecting more. How patient can a fan base be with that kind of long-term vision? Sources also pointed out their schedule is tough early on, especially January.
Yeah, a brutal stretch in January, like 25 days with no more than 2 days off between games, including a 6-game road trip. The first 20 games are seen as critical. Expectations are for a rough start, maybe 5-15, something like that.
Right.
And roster-wise, fans want a traditional power forward or maybe a point guard. Jalen Green is the starter there, which apparently raises some concerns about late-game execution. Malcolm Brogdon's name came up, unsigned guard, could help with ball handling, but would he accept the role they need him for? That's another question mark. It's all about finding pieces that fit the culture now.
Culture over everything, at least for now in Phoenix. Okay, finally, let's talk about that moment that probably gave a lot of fans a scare. Luka Doncic's injury, playing for Slovenia in Eurobasket. What did the sources tell us about that? What does it mean?
Well, the injury itself sounds minor. A knee contusion, collision with a teammate. Thankfully, he seemed okay, wanted to go back in. But the bigger point, what the sources really stressed, is that Luka plays everything for Slovenia. His international commitment is just. It's baked into the Doncic experience. It's part of who he is.
Right.
So the reality for fans, especially Lakers fans now, is you kind of have to get used to watching him play internationally and holding your breath a little bit. You can't bubble wrap these guys, right? And while Luke has had minor things, calf, hamstring, wrist, shoulder, sometimes starting seasons out of shape, he doesn't have that history of a major recurrent injury like, say, Joel Embiid.
Okay, that's a key distinction.
Yeah. And the sources were pretty clear. He's probably not changing his mind about playing for Slovenia. Even if his NBA team was the overwhelming title favorite, it's cultural pride, it's the standard guys like Jokic set. It just highlights that balance, or maybe imbalance, between player passion for their country and the risk for their NBA team. Teams just have to factor it in.
Absolutely. Wow, what a deep dive today. We really covered a lot of ground. Playoff hopefuls, the real meaning of success, what it takes for contenders to actually win.
Yeah, we saw how much injuries matter, obviously, but also coaching philosophy, player buy-in. It's not just about talent on paper, is it? So many factors shape a team's real destiny. Always more to learn.
So think about this as we wrap up. Which team's definition of success resonated most with you? Is it always about the final win total, or is it sometimes deeper, like that culture reset in Phoenix or seeing young guys develop? Something to chew on. For more insights, more fascinating discussions like this, definitely like and subscribe for more.